Forget. So hi, I'm here with Michaela, and so I've known Michaela for just over a year and a half now, when we were both training with Lisa Nichols on how to bring our story to more people so we can inspire more women around us. And we were both probably some of the few in the program that were based in Europe, and Michaela had always shared these amazing videos about how to be yourself and authentic, and how to learn from animals and horses as well, which is a passion of mine. I used to have horses when I was younger. So many things to connect with. And on this show, throughout all the different interviews I've had so far, the one thing that's come up time and time again is the importance of building a business that's authentic to you and your values, and the massive difference that has made to everybody I've interviewed so far. So I'm really excited to pick Michaela's brains on how exactly do you discover who you are, because it kind of sounds like it should be straightforward and obvious, but it really isn't a lot of the time, and we have all of these kind of limitations and blocks we've kind of accumulated along the way as well that we need to cut through. So but before I get to that point, I would like to say, Michaela, how did you get to where you are today? What got you started in this business?
First of all, the whole thing started with my passion. You know, since I was a young kid, I always wanted to work with horses. And it was kind of like a logical consequence that I kind of stuck with it. You know, there was never a thought about, well, now what am I going to do later on? I just knew horses would always be the center of my life. So it was kind of like it kind of grew into it. So I you know, when I was getting older, I spent a couple of years in the States, worked with great horse people. So there I learned my stuff, and then I came back to Europe, and I was kind of like a traveling horse trainer. I went to all those places where the horses were. I'd never had a stable myself. That kept me pretty flexible, and also taught me to work with what the people had. You see, I mean, when you're working, when you have a stable, you get the horse home to your place, that's all perfect, and you give it back to the people, it's all different. So I learned to adjust pretty well. So like I said, it was never a question of, am I going to make a business out of it? No, it was just, it kind of grew into it.
Yeah, I love that. And I see that a lot, and in these interviews as well, is that where you start is never where you end up. And as long as you follow your heart, you kind of get there. And bit by bit, it's, you know, it's not kind of, for some people, perhaps they have a plan and that this is the business I'm going to start, and they get started and it all works out perfectly. For most people, it's more of an evolution. It's more of a kind of step by step and an exploration of how they can use their talents in different ways and bring those into the marketplace and create a career doing really what you love and bringing your passion into that, because that's really where the magic happens, when you can really do that. And that's something I think as entrepreneurs we have more of an opportunity to explore, just how far our passions can take us. In a corporate career, we don't always have that opportunity, so it's really wonderful. So was there a point where you realized, okay, this is the business I'm going to start? Or was it really just a step-by-step doing, just continuing to roll with it, really?
Yeah, kind of like both. I mean, you know, when you're starting with horses, the way I did it, I was pretty young. I was fit, I was powerful, I was gutsy. But then when you're getting older, you know, you have a couple of wrecks with horses, or your body kind of gives in. So I actually had to adjust my business after a while. I couldn't get on the young horses anymore. I couldn't ride the buck out of them, so to speak. So I knew I had to sort of reshape my business, right? So, but I always felt drawn to working with people. There's lots of horse trainers out there. They say, give me horses. I want to work with horses, but leave me alone with these people. I always love working with people, especially women, because it's like 95% of horse owners, at least here in Europe, are women, right? So I always loved doing that. And then it was like, it was just a natural process that I started to focus more on working with people. But then after a while, I saw that this online thing started to grow, not in my own business, but everywhere around me. because we all know when you're working by yourself, you have to be there physically, right? You can only you can only help so many people. So I try to sort of transfer my business online, which I have to say, honestly, I never really made it that way. Because the thing is, when you're working with horses, and I would love to pick your brain about that. You know, you're working and with people, you're working with energy. And I really believe there's a transfer of energy. When you're working with a person and a horse in the same room, when you're breathing the same air, there is something happening. And that cannot really happen through the screen. There's a limit, there's a screen in between. And that always kind of held me back to really completely go into that online thing, because I know that the real deep transformation that I experience when I do work outside with horses and people, I don't get that here. So to me, this is kind of like a stumbling block, I have to say. You know, you can share your wisdom in videos, like you just said, when you introduced me, and you can tell people what you know, so they get the idea, but they never get the feel. You see, so this is still something that keeps me from really jumping into that online thing.
Yeah, I can see that it's quite a different environment, isn't it? Particularly when you're working so close with, and horses are such intuitive animals. They really pick up on your energy. You definitely couldn't work with a horse online. That wouldn't work.
No.
But with people, you can build the connections, and it's one of the things that my clients often reflect back on is the energy they get from me.
Yeah.
And the sense of calm, and the sense of, yeah, we can really do this step by step. But it takes time. You have to invest in that relationship. And it's something that was really important to me in building my programs, is that it isn't just something that they follow along on their own, but there's a sense of community, and that I show up on a regular basis and work with them on their real-time issues that they're having. So every single week we all get together and we have these amazing live calls, and there you can really start to feel the energy and the relationship. Obviously it would be faster if you sat in down with people, but it means that there's a lot of people who are quite remote, or they can't afford to have like one-to-one time with someone. So this online really builds up the possibility, and it's not all about the income. It's really about giving and serving other people. And there are so many people out there that can be better served right now through having an online presence, I believe. So it's all about balance. So I have my one-to-one clients, I have my group clients, I try and get out in person to do networking and events as much as I can as well. So it's all about keeping that in balance to serve people in the best way possible. But I know there's a lot of people in my group program that I couldn't serve any other way, and they were really stuck in their business. So it's been an opportunity for them to really build the system and the processes and the understanding and the confidence they need to move forward and serve their groups, which wouldn't be possible otherwise. So I think it's like everything, it's being in tune with your market, being in tune with yourself on what works, testing things out, experimenting. I mean, this didn't work straight away. I've tried all sorts of things in my group and they've fed back to me, we love this. This isn't really working. This work is way too much. We just can't cope with all of that. So it's been a relationship. We built that kind of program together, which has been great. But that kind of brings me back to a question I wanted to ask you. So you're all about natural leadership and being in alignment with yourself. How do you advise your clients to do that? How do you advise them to move forward and identify who they really are and stay in alignment with that?
That's a very good question. It's not that I sit down and think about, well, how do I get these people in alignment? It's more, there's some energy. I always start, and I do that subconsciously or unconsciously, I don't know the right term for that, with a safe space. So this is what I noticed with horses. This is what I noticed with people. The moment they start to feel safe, they open up, and then they have access to their essence. Then they see themselves in a different light, but only when they feel safe. And to me, it always takes somebody from the outside who provides that safe space. It's hard to do that by yourself. You can meditate, you can manifest. Yes, there you spend time with yourself. But it's actually a lot more powerful when you have that space from somebody else. I don't know what exactly it does, but then people see themselves with different eyes. And, especially when, like when you have some kind of a challenge, I always compare that even though if you don't know anything about horses, but that's a very powerful analogy when you're trying to load a horse into a horse trailer, and the horse trailer stands for the biggest challenge we have. So you see resistance, you see anxiety, you see aggression because of that, you see shutdown. It's the very same things, the same behavior patterns that we have when we face some kind of a challenge or problem. And there you really see what that horse is all about. When you see them being faced with a challenge that scares them, then you see what's inside. And what I do, I have 3 principles. It's kind of like 3 pillars for my whole philosophy. The first thing is I give them space. I give them space. Let it out, whatever it is. If you're scared, be scared. Express it. Here's a safe space. The interesting thing is I don't have to even say it. Here's a safe space. Do it. They do it because they feel it. It's on a different level. It's not on that level. It's on that level. And by doing that, there's a lot of release going on. And it's kind of like, when you're full of stress, when you're in the state of stress, you cannot put anything in. You have to empty yourself out. This is what you do with a horse. So this is when it comes to natural leadership. When you want to help a horse that is troubled or a person that is stressed, out of alignment, so to speak, you have to help them to empty, to get it out, to express whatever they have. What most women do is they judge themselves for being that way. Like, I should have known better. And they just beat themselves up, or they distract themselves, where's another candy bar, where's the alcohol, whatever. Or they feel sorry for themselves. And I actually just help them, you know what? Don't beat yourself up. Don't judge what happens. Just let it out. And by doing that, it's kind of like they give themselves permission to express it. And when they feel there's nobody judging them, they stop judging themselves. And then they have access to, like I said in the beginning, they have access to the essence. And the essence to me, I know it may sound freaky for some people, but for me, it's a very powerful analogy. To me, it's that wild horse spirit. I call that essence the wild horse spirit, because the wild horse is not troubled. The wild horse is in this perfect natural balance. And I always refer to the wild horse. It's kind of like, instead of focusing on getting all that negative behavior away, like fixing aggression, fixing anxiety, fixing the apathy, I focus on establishing that balance. And that takes so much pressure off. And so it's not like I don't even feel myself teaching people anything. I clear the space by giving them a safe space. And I just kind of direct them on a loose rein, like I would do with a horse. And they find it out by themselves. It's always a process. You never really know that it's powerful. It's magical. But you can never predict it. But people feel it instantly. They feel it. They feel exactly, is that person that's in front of me, if it's on the screen or on the phone or face to face, is that person really not judging me? They feel that intuitively. And this is when they open up to you, and this is when they open up to themselves. And this is actually, to me, this is half of the race already.
Yeah, I think that's so true, that once you kind of give yourself permission to be a bit more open and really honest with yourself about where your strengths and passions and where your weaknesses lie, then all of a sudden you're like, oh, well, then the path becomes a lot clearer. And it's,
Yeah.
but this fear of judgment is massive. And I think
Yeah.
it prevents a lot of women, and I know it's prevented me myself, reaching out for help because we're frightened of being judged. Oh, how did you get in that state in the first place? Why can't you do that? Why haven't you figured this
Yeah.
out? And we have these things. Oh, I don't want to go and ask for this help because they'll judge me. But it's very rarely the case. People are so busy judging themselves to judge anyone else.
That's true. Yeah.
But yeah, it's really something that we need to sort of get over and help ourselves to get over it and give each other permission to just let that go. And I think that was one of the most powerful mindset lessons I ever had. It was like, gosh, years ago now, and it was one of the first things. And this person was explaining how, you know, all this baggage, all of these things we're like still chastising ourselves for that we did when we were 6 years old, that just let it go. If it doesn't serve you, it's not helpful, it's not moving you forward, let it go. And it's like, really? I can just let it go. And I did. And it was that easy. And it was like, wow. And then once you have that, once you've broken free and you've rediscovered your wild horse spirit, then you can move forward really at your own pace and in your own way and really enjoy that journey. So I think it's one of the biggest sort of hurdles we have to go through, but it's also this massive kind of, yeah, how do you explain this? It's just a revelation when you get through that point, and we all have to go through it. No, everyone comes into this journey with something that's holding them back, but as soon as you free yourself from that, then it just becomes really exciting.
That's true. I so hear you. Yeah.
So you've talked about natural leadership, but how do you know? Is there a way to know when you're on the right path and you found your passion?
Yeah, because it just feels so right. It feels so good. It's like when it kind of gives you that feeling inside when you think about, like, just imagine I believe a lot of people, they have a vision of their lives, maybe when they were young or maybe when they were older, and they whenever you think about this vision and it gives you that goosebump feeling, it kind of gets you excited. This is when you know this is your true passion. But it was when it doesn't do anything to you, when it's kind of like, yeah, it's pretty cool, but it doesn't really excite you. And we all know the difference. We all know it. And this is what I mean. So a vision never wears off. And I even believe that when you think about your vision, it even gets stronger and stronger when it's really a part of you and you're supposed to do it. It's like when your vision turns into your mission, you know it and you feel it. And then, like I said, it doesn't wear off, but it gets bigger and stronger. It's kind of like it takes every cell of your body into that thing and you feel it. And it's kind of like, then you don't know, you cannot turn around. You have to follow that path because it's a part of you. I think you cannot fake it. This is actually what you learn from horses. Horses teach you, because they're so brutally honest. You're like kids. I don't have kids, but I've been around kids and they're brutally honest like horses. They don't fake.
You're honest sometimes.
Yeah. Okay. But that's how you know. You just know it. There's a deeper knowing. This is knowing, this big knowing.
Yeah, I think you're right. And there's a beautiful quote. It's one of my favorite quotes in The Alchemist. And he said, you know, when you're on the right path, the stars align in the universe to make things happen for you. And as soon as you're on the right path, as you say, you feel it in your body, because your body always knows. Your body knows more than your mind does. So if you tune into how you feel and that energy, as you say, you can really feel that. But then just magic happens. People appear out of nowhere with the perfect opportunity to help you take that next step. And once you are honest, like, okay, this is where I'm going, but I have no clue what to do next, then that next bit of information you need, that next piece of the puzzle, just arrives. And it's really quite magical. So you don't need to know, that was another quote, you don't have to know have the whole path clear ahead of you. You just need to take that next step, and then the next step after that will suddenly become clear, and just keep stepping in that direction. But if as soon as it doesn't feel right, then listen to that. Keep in tune with yourself.
And that's a very, very strong point you just made. If it doesn't feel right, listen. Because here's the thing, and this is what I noticed with a lot of those marketing experts out there. They, you know, they tell you when it doesn't feel right, you got to work on yourself. There's something wrong with you. There's something wrong with your mindset. You got to work on yourself. There's probably limiting beliefs. Work on those so you get over it. And this is what I have to say. This is what tripped me over a couple of times, because I was listening more to them than to me. You see. So when I had this feeling of it doesn't really feel right, and I think it doesn't feel right because it's something wrong with me. I need to be more assertive, or I have to push through, even though I feel that barrier. But when you really listen closely to you feel that resistance is the sign of the universe saying, hey, you're on the wrong path, my friend. You better turn around, because this is not in alignment with yourself. So there's a fine line. And I think the more we are connected with ourselves, the more we can really listen to that. And then we know, is that the resistance that comes from here, or is that the resistance that comes from being, because I'm just lazy and I don't want to do the work? You see, we know it.
Yeah, exactly. And once you have that connection, then you can create meaningful connections with others and your tribe and the people that will support you and the people you can serve. And that connection is really important. Now, I know there's a lot of confusion out there about how do you market your business? How do you find clients? And that's been my life's work over the last 25 years. I've studied and worked in marketing. And what I've learned is it is all about the connection. There are so many different ways you can get your business out there and find clients, but you've got to stay in tune with what works for you, what feels right for you, how you can serve and add value through your marketing. And that's when it will work. If you are following what certain people are saying and it doesn't feel right, it's not getting results, it just doesn't feel like you're serving people, then stop it. They find another way. There are literally hundreds of ways, and I've got an ebook that listeners can get on the page with a list of 100 different ways you can market your business for no cost whatsoever. And you just have to go through that, do some digging, do some exploration about what feels right and meaningful, because that's what it's all about, really. It's building a business is all about serving and solving problems, and so you need to do that through your marketing as well to get there. I want to touch a little bit on confidence, because that's something that I see holding women back massively in business, particularly in the early stages, is this lack of self-belief and confidence. Is there any advice you can provide on how they can start building that?
Well, first of all, I always have to go back to the horses. I apologize for that, but that's just my main thing. To me, you cannot be confident, and horses are the same. When horses are anxious and aggressive and all, they are not confident. They don't believe in themselves. So there's the power again. You got to be authentic. To me, that is the root of everything. When you are not authentic, you are not your true self, and you cannot become confident. So let's say when you are not aligned with yourself, you don't really know who you are, and you're trying to be confident by power posing 3 times a day. I'm not saying that it doesn't work. It does work, but it's not really coming from the inside. If you learn to say the right words for certain things, if you know how to move around, but it doesn't come from the inside, it's not in alignment with who you are, then it's always fake. It feels fake to you, and it feels fake to other people. So my best advice for women, for men as well, to be confident is just, you got to be authentic. You got to be true to yourself. And you can only do that the more you know yourself. And I assume that we have all done the work. We're all doing the work one way or another. Some meditate, some do yoga, some do manifestations. We go to seminars, we read books, we get coaching, so we do the work. But a lot of times, and this has been my personal experience and from what I see what's happening outside, that we do have a lot of knowledge, We know a lot. It's like, yeah, amen, sister. I got it. I got you. I hear it. I have it. But I don't feel it. That's the thing that's always missing. Not always, but a lot of times. And, you know, this is when, to me, I always compare it with the knowledge is kind of like your firewood. We have a lot of firewood. It's all stacked up. Some have huge piles. They know so much, but they don't have a freaking match. They don't have a freaking match to put that thing on fire. And to me, that match is what I just said in the beginning. When you have somebody from the outside who can see you, because sometimes we cannot see ourselves the way we truly are. There's so much confusion, there's conditioning, there's limiting beliefs, all that stuff. And then we can work until hell freezes over. We still don't see it. But if there's somebody from the outside with an open heart who really wants to help you, he sees right through those limiting beliefs. He cuts right through that confusion. He sees the core. It's like with the horses. Don't focus on that outside crap. Don't care about that. See the essence. And when you see that, when they see that essence, it's like they can see it too. And then something happens. Don't ask me exactly what happens, but it's kind of like that thing goes on fire. And they feel it. They feel a passion all of a sudden because they're not focused on that outside stuff. It's like, wow, I didn't know. Oh my God, is this really happening? Something changes big time. And one thing changes, something else changes. And then they start to see everything in a complete different light. And with the horses, like I said in the beginning, they don't fake. So when you touch the horse's core, when you have a troubled horse, you touch the spirit of the wild horse that is in each horse as well. It's like they completely change the state from aggression to relaxation. They open up, they communicate, they trust you, they follow you, and you cannot fake it. You can only do that when you touch in the core. So I'm not a friend of doing a lot of exercises. I've never done that with the horses. I've always focused on getting them in a different state. When you have the right state, you can stack all you want. You can put it all on top and then they can handle it. But when they are not connected with themselves, with their true nature, you can do exercises all day long. It's not going to get you anywhere. So this is my approach. It's a little bit different from mainstream, but it's very, very powerful. And sometimes those transformations, and I know it's a big word, but I've seen it too many times. Sometimes they happen in 10 minutes. Because when you touch that point, and beforehand you don't know what it is, but it's kind of like you want to see it. And this is what I believe. When you have an intention, when you want to go to the core, and I have to say, I'm personally obsessed with the core. I always have been obsessed. I have never really paid attention to outside stuff. I always wanted to see what's behind. Even, going to the flea market when I was a kid, I always looked underneath the table. I never looked outside on the table. What's underneath the curtain? What's underneath? This is what triggers me, and that's where the treasure is. And this is what I want to find. And this is when you find it, somebody else sees it too, and then magic happens.
Yeah, I love that. And it's so true. I mean, it's really hard to be confident if you're not being yourself. And it can take some courage to go there, to really explore who you really are and to ask for the help, as I think you're very right in saying. It's so hard to do, to reflect meaningfully on yourself without someone else kind of probing you a little bit and helping you peel back those layers to discover
right.
what is at that core, which is really so important to find. And then you can rebuild from there and you're so much stronger. Michaela, you have shared so many amazing insights and advice and tips. I'm sure everyone's just going to go away and start working on getting that transformation for themselves. But is there one last tip you'd like to share with anyone to help them to take that next step along this journey?
Oh, there's just so many things, but the thing that comes to my mind is just really don't bend over backwards. Stay true to yourself. and we know when we're off track. Yeah, I know that's everybody says it, but it's like the intention behind it is where the power lies. So yeah, stay true to yourself, and find the people who speak your language. And the interesting thing is when you put that out, like you said, you keep attracting these people. They come into your lives. All of a sudden, you don't know where, but all of a sudden they find you. This is what the advice I can give everyone. Listen to yourself, and don't try to please somebody else, and like kind of punch yourself in the face. Don't do that.
Yeah, and I think I love that last thing you said, because the more I go along this path, the more I work on myself and help others to work on themselves and build their business, the more I see that the root of everything is love. So self-love and respect for yourself, and then you can share that openly with other people from just such a generous place, something that really speaks from the heart. And so I love that you shared that last tip. Thank you so much. Where can people find you if they want to learn more about you and your work? Where's the best place for them to go?
All right, when they are really fascinated about horses, they have to go to my website, Michaela Koelbl, or Horse Connect. Probably you're gonna put it underneath, yes. But it's in German. It's German. Horse Connect is German, unless you want to improve your German or go through the Google Translator. I don't know what it does with the site, but you check that out. And if you want to find more about me working with people, about the confidence thing, go on confidentwoman.com.
Brilliant. Thank you. And as you say, I will be putting all those links underneath as well, so people can just click straight on through. Again, thank you so much for your time, Michaela. You have shared some absolute gold. I know people are going to go away and start having that little bit more courage to explore themselves and get on their path and start enjoying more alignment and everything that brings.
Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciated that you asked me to be a part of your podcast. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.